Welcome, risers. This is your SAT course orientation. You should have taken a diagnostic test up to this point. So this is what you look at now, this video, which will help you acclimate yourself to the program that's to come. So we have an agenda. What is the SAT, which is a good question, and then strategies and sample SAT questions. And then we'll switch over to Javed Rize, who will tell you more about your score report and your SAT study schedule and your SAT study plan and the attendance policy, etc. But who am I? Well, I am Dennis Rize. I'm a master trainer for the SAT. I've been preparing students for the SAT for more than 20 years. I am a bachelor's graduate from Williams College in Massachusetts and a master's graduate from Columbia University in New York. I've lived in the Gulf since 2004, and during all this time, I have helped many Middle East residents to reach their SAT scoring goals. So here I'd like to introduce you to our academic team quickly. We have Mr. Mohan, who is our center manager in Abu Dhabi and also a senior instructor. Ms. Surya, who is assistant center manager at Al Ain. Ms. Neetu, who is senior course coordinator in Abu Dhabi. Myself, of course, as academic head for the UAE, and also my partner, Mr. Darrell Johnson, who is also academic head. And last but certainly not least, Mr. Javed, who is the lead instructor in Al Ain, and will also be, as I said earlier, discussing some items with you. So I want to start just by thinking about the three pillars of college admission. I know that for some of you, it seems like college is quite a bit away, but nevertheless, if you want to go to a dream college, you need great grades, great test scores, and great application. So I just want to talk about grades for a second. Grades are your GPA, your grade point average, which really, if you're in 11th grade, which I assume most of you are, if not all of you, your grades should be stellar, of course. But if they're not, if 9th and 10th grade you have a sort of slippage, there's nothing you can do about that now, right? So I just want to make the point that grades are kind of a done deal. Let's switch over to applications. Now, applications, what I mean by that is mostly your letters of recommendation, okay, which we will discuss later, but that is really also something that is pretty much set in stone. Really, you should have an idea by 11th grade of who you're going to ask, which of your teachers you're going to ask to write your application. So that's also a done deal. But what isn't a done deal are your test scores, right? And that is the focus of what I'm going to talk about. Okay? But first, just quickly here, a well-rounded college application includes GPA/transcript, which I discussed briefly. Also, the personal statement and essays. That's also something you have power over. But the letters of recommendation and any extracurricular activities that you perform are mostly settled by the time you're in 11th grade. Okay? The only thing besides your personal statement and the essays is the standardized test scores, the PSAT, the SAT, and or the IELTS, and of course the interviews, which is sort of the last step. So, what is the SAT? Well, you just took an example, but really it's a test that universities in the States primarily, but increasingly internationally use to see if you are up to the mark, okay? And they're not only used for admissions, they're also used to award aid, something that might interest your parents a good deal. So, what does the SAT measure? Does it measure intelligence? Well, no, it does not. The SAT, as you'll see, is a contentless test. Nevertheless, there are techniques that you can use to score better. Can it be used to award aid? Again, something that might interest your parents? Yes. Does it reflect your GPA in high school? Well, no, it does not do that. Your GPA does that. Does it predict your college GPA? Well, no, it doesn't do that either. And in fact, the SAT is supposed to do that. At least that's what they say it does. But actually, it doesn't actually do that. Because your GPA is more likely to predict how well you will do in college. Can it be prepared for? Well, yes, it can be. Should it be prepared for? Well, yes, definitely. If I could put 2 check marks there, I would. Does it test what you've learned in high school? Well, it depends. Really, the SAT, in both its verbal and its math components, but especially its math component, will have a lot of content that you do need to know. Okay? So, for example, if you are haven't done quadratics yet, that's going to be sort of a stumbling block for you, but one that I or any one of your other teachers can quickly take care of. Nevertheless, even though the content is what you encounter in high school, the way that the question is asked is not something different. So that's a distinction I want to make. Okay? So yes, it does test what you've learned in high school, but it does it in a different way. Okay. So again, the SAT scoring is from 400 to 1600, both sides. There's 200 to 800 on the math and 200 to 800 on the evidence-based reading and writing. Notice that there are 3 tests. There's a math test, there's 2 sections on the math, and there is a reading test, and there's a writing test. So there are 3 tests, but 2 sections. One is math, and one is verbal. So, what is a good SAT score? So I'm sure you're thinking in your head, there are a lot of numbers. Some people say 1,200, some people say 1,500. But really a good SAT score is whatever you need to go to your dream school, right? So here is just a page where there's some universities that you see here with their SAT ranges. Now, these are not, by the way, sort of a mark for admission. These are average scores, right? So that's why there's a range. So Arizona State University is from 1120 to 1360. Boston University comes in a bit higher at 1340 to 1510. University of Colorado Boulder is again 1140 to 1360. Purdue, 1150 to 1380. Georgetown, which I think is the highest on this list, yes, is 1370 to 1530, et cetera, et cetera. It just gives you a few ideas. By the way, there are 4,000 universities and colleges in the States. This is just a clip of them. So I'm sure you're asking this question, but given that you just took a test, what is on the SAT? Well, let me tell you officially now, even though you've taken it. So the reading is the first thing you took, if you remember. So that is 65 minutes and 52 questions. Oh, that was a long passage. That was long reading, right? But that's the first thing you do. Then the writing and language section, which is 35 minutes, 44 questions. And then there are 2 math sections, as I said earlier. There's a no calculator section, which is 25 minutes and 20 questions. And a calculator section, much longer, which is 55 minutes and 38 minutes. Now, there is an optional essay, and we can talk about that later. But in this presentation, I will sort of go through the essay really quickly and say, for now, we don't have to worry. Okay. So preparation and planning are key. And I'm sure you know, because this is why you're enrolled in this program. Now, these tests, remember I said that these tests, they ask you questions in a different way that you're used to. So here, this is kind of a joke, but here you have kind of clearly a question, especially the one on the right, find X. Okay, so there it is. And if you take a look at the left-hand picture, it says name the quadrilateral, right? So if you take a look really closely, it's got names to the quadrilateral. Bob and Tedison and Kate and Harry. Now, clearly, that's not testing savvy. But what is testing savvy? So test writers expect you to respond in a predictable way. So guys, I want you can pause this video to read this question, okay? I'm going to read it, but I want you to pause, and then I want you to try it, okay? But I'm going to read it as for now. If a store raises the price of an item by 20%, then decreases the new price by 15%, what was the percent change in the price of the item? So if you've paused the video, which you should have an answer, okay? So now I'm going to tell you how I would do this, okay? So I'm going to plug in, which is one of the many tools we teach you in the SAT course. So I'm going to plug in 100 for the price. You notice that there's a price of an item, right? So I'm going to say 100, sorry, because it's a percent problem, right? So 100 increased by 20% is 120. That's easy. But then it decreases the new price by 15%. 15% of what? Because percents are not actual numbers, right? So 15% of 120. Now, this is where most of you, I think, fell for a trap. Because if you said 5%, you fell for that trap, right? So you have to take 50% of 120, which is basically, it's 18. So it increases entirely by 2. So you see that. So this is the point. And this is an easy question, but again, it's asked in a way that if you said 5%, you fell for a trap. Anyway, so another strategy is pacing. Now on this page, we have sort of reading 75 seconds. This is only if you're going to finish everything, right? But approximately you have 75 seconds per question in the writing and language section, which is much easier, which is essentially grammar. You have 48 seconds per question. On the math no calculator section, 75 seconds per question. On the math calculator section, which is a bit longer, it's 87, almost 90 seconds per question, so in a minute and a half. But this is if you're going to do everything. But so we have a rabbit here, or a hare, and a turtle. So let's talk about the rabbit first. The rabbit is fast, which is why he's there, right? So let's say this is a math section. So he does all 58 questions, right? But if you take a look, he's only got 26 of them correct, and 32 are incorrect. Okay? So that's a 540, which is not a terrible score, but the turtle, on the other hand, okay, if you take a look at the turtle, he doesn't finish all the questions, right? So of 58 questions, he only attempts 38, okay? And he gets 30 correct, right? So that's all. He already does better than the rabbit, right? Because even though he ostensibly did less work, right? Because he answered fewer questions, so he had more time to work on them, and he also made better choices, which is something that we will talk about in the classroom setting. So, okay. So then, if he does, he guesses the remaining 20, just guess it, letter of the day. But he gets 4 more, and he gets a 6/10. Still by doing less work than the rest. So that's pacing. So now, let me show you some examples. Okay? Don't freak out. Okay? Again, you can pause the video and read if you wish. But anyway, so let me read the problem for you. Samantha is looking to join a judo dojo. The dojo charges a one-time membership fee of $129.99 and an additional $7 fee per session. A tax of 30% is applied to the membership fee, but not the sessional fee, which the following represents Samantha's total cost in dollars for attending any session. So one of the things we're going to do here, we're not, put away your calculators. You don't need them. Because here we're just going to take a look at the answer choices and see which answers we can eliminate. So first, we're going to read the final question, right? So what information do we need to find? Well, we need to find Samantha's total cost for attending a session, okay? So if this were an actual test, I would underline this portion, okay? So what information do we have? Well, we have a one-time membership fee of $129.99 and an additional $7 fee per session, okay? So one thing I would say is, so the 7, as you see, right, shouldn't be linked to anything except the end sessions, okay? So we would eliminate, for example, B, because you don't have to add it to the $129.99, right? And then C as well, because clearly you don't add everything. So we eliminate B and C. And then the 13 tax on membership. So you've got A, which is 0.13, and D, which is 1.13. And this is a trap, because if you put A, that is not going to be her total cost. That is only achieved by adding 1. So, yeah, sorry. So, yeah, so it's D. D is the answer. Okay, so next. This is the writing section. Now, let me just give you guys a sense. The writing section is essentially grammar with a little bit of style, but these are grammar questions, essentially, okay? So, if you take a look at number 1, and again, you can pause the video if you wish. So, take a look at what is underlined, right? Which is, when any one of these changes occur, it is likely the result of careful analysis conducted by transportation. Okay? So, I want to draw your attention to the fact that the subject of this is 1. So that's singular. So does 1 occur or 1 occurs? If you said 1 occurs, you are correct. So you eliminate A and B. Okay? So now we have C and D left, occurs. All right? So if you said that you eliminate C because of they, you are correct. So the answer is D. As you see, it's quite simple, but you have to pay attention. Let's take a look at number 2. Okay? The work of transportation planners generally includes evaluating current transportation needs, assessing the effectiveness of existing facilities, and improving these facilities, or they design new ones. Okay, for those of you who said A is kind of wrong, you are right, because I would eliminate that as well, because of they primarily. But I would also draw your attention to the non-underlined portion. And one of the things we say about this is that this type of question is that the non-underlined portion often determines what goes in the underlined portion. Okay? So if you take a look, it's evaluating, assessing, and improving. So we can eliminate B and D, and the answer is C, which is design. Again, quite simple. Last but not least, 3. Okay? If analysis of the traffic count indicates that there is more traffic than the current road as it is designed at this time, can efficiently accommodate, the transportation planner might recommend widening the road to add another lane. Okay, so if you said the current road as it is designed at this time is kind of long, right? So I want to draw your attention. So current and at this time mean the same thing. So I want to eliminate A. Okay? And then we can drop down and eliminate B is for the same reason. Current and right now mean the same thing. And C, even though they're closer together, now and currently, again, mean the same thing essentially. So we eliminate A, B, and C, and the answer is D. All right. So I just want to talk now briefly about your timeline. As I said, you're beginning this program in April, right? Now. So just a word, because in our situation at the moment, we don't actually know whether there will be a June exam. Fingers crossed there will be, but we don't know that. So that's why there's an asterisk around the June 6th date. Okay? But even if there isn't, so you're going to do online prep from April, essentially, to the 6th of June, correct? But if you want to take the test in October, either as a retest or because you haven't been able to yet, right? We will have revision prep in any event, okay? In both cases. There's also, theoretically, an August date, which should be shoehorned there in the middle, according to College Board. They're going to try to open up one of the dates that's usually available only in the States for you guys, international students, but we have to wait on that and see. Or, since you're in 11th grade, really the final test you can take is in December, okay? So there'll be revision for that as well, okay? Now, why December? Because that is mostly when most of the applications are due. They begin to be due in early December all the way through January, February, March. So this is really your last opportunity to take the test, which might have you asking, how many times do I take it? Okay, so you prepare to take the SAT once, meaning you prep for it once, right? But you plan to take it at least twice, but do not take the SAT more than 3 times, okay? Because most admissions officers will say, if you take it more than 3 times, does this student not have anything better to do than to keep taking the SAT? If you do take the SAT multiple times, then you can send your score to many colleges as follows. So I'm just going to tell you briefly what these 3 schemes are, okay? With some examples. One is SAT score choice. This allows you to submit only your best score. So examples of universities that accept this are Penn State and UPenn, both in Pennsylvania, of course. Okay, so in that way you can sort of, if you've done kind of badly on one of your scores, you can hide that back. You only submit to them your best score. Okay? Now, the second, I want to emphasize the second choice because this is super scoring. Now, as most schools within the U.S. essentially super score. However, you're going to have to do research on that. But most schools do. But super scoring is the process by which they take your highest score. So, for example, if you have, let's say you have, you take an SAT and you get 730 math, woo, right? But you only get 550 verbal. Okay, so then you take it again to try to bring up your verbal score. You have that 720 math there because they take your highest score. So even if you drop to, let's say, 600 math, they accept or they calculate your highest score. So that 720 is yours no matter what happens. And then you can spend time bringing up your verbal score, right? Examples of schools that perform this system or do these calculations are the University of Southern California, which is in California. Okay? Or you can send them all scores and let them decide, which is, what you do if you do nothing, what happens if you do nothing. They all get an electronic code by which they know all your scores. But there are some universities which require that. For example, Yale, which is in Connecticut, and also NYU, in both the New York version and the Abu Dhabi version. Essentially, they're the same thing. But they both require you to send in all your scores. Okay. So here is your SAT online prep timeline. As I said earlier, begins essentially April 5th and lasts all the way to June 6th. So you should have already accomplished step 1, right? Which was to take a practice SAT test. Since you're watching this video, I'm assuming you did. Okay? Now step 2, which is both today and tomorrow, if today is the 4th, you should watch this video, which you're doing now. So good for you. But you should also set up 20 minutes online appointment with a Princeton Review tutor. So you're going to get a link with this video in it, but there will also be a link to set up an online appointment with a tutor. Okay? So step 3, which is the longest step, is from April 5th to June 6th, which is a long way, 8 weeks. And there you do your self-prep online. But there's an extra step because here you have to attend a live online group review or doubt clearing class once a week with either myself or Javed or another person. Okay, so Javed, take it away.
Thanks, Dennis. Yes, so step 3 was 8 weeks of preparation, and this is how it looks like. This is a snap of this. And as you can see, your assessment is done, and study week 1 is soon going to begin, your course, your orientation, and it continues all the way until June 6th. Let's talk about your course attendance policy. The most important thing you have to remember is that of all the work that you see in your study plan, you have to complete at least 3 hours of that per week. That is 1.5 hours of English and 1.5 hours of math. Failure to do so in the first 15 days will lead to deactivation of your account, and your account is great. You don't want to lose that. So make sure you complete 3 hours of the workload per week at the bare minimum. Since you took the test, you probably know that with the test comes a score report. And if you're wondering what does it mean and what are all those colors and numbers, worry not. I'm going to explain that to you here. So let's have a look at the first page of your score report, which looks something like this. Your total score, of course, is given here. Like, let's say you got a 1060 and that is out of 1600. The score breakdown is mentioned. When we say verbal, what we mean is writing and language, or English, and reading. Your math score is here. Below this, there is a further breakdown that you probably don't want to worry about too much, but I'll quickly tell you what those scores are. We have test score, which means, for example, on the math test, out of 40, this student got a 28. On the reading test, out of 40, the student got a 27, so on and so forth. You also have cross-test scores, which is an analysis of how well you did in like history and social studies, or the science part where you did those figures in the reading section and writing and language section, or your sub-scores here, which breaks down the score further into more details. Really, all you care about is the total score and the verbal score and the math score. Keep your eyes on these and you should be good on that. At the bottom of the page, you can see response legend section. Now, this is important to you. If you see a green color, well done. That means you got that question right. Gray color means you left it blank, which you should not, by the way. And you see red means you got it incorrect. And the correct answer is mentioned here in the white part, or here, which you got it right. And that's why you see a tick mark. A is your answer. C is the correct answer for this question, 23. Now, when you go to the second page of your score report, you see the reading, writing, and language, math section 3 and section 4. Your objective is to make your score report look a lot less bloody. That means you want to see more of the green color and less of the red color. So that's a goal to bear in mind when you do your second test. And at the bottom of this page, you can see our recommendation engine has something for you. For this particular student, these were areas of strength. So when you analyze your own score report and you see vocabulary in context, building functions, quantitative information, or other things, if you have it on your score report, that means you should not worry too much about this part. This is your strength. Your areas of focus, however, which are marked in red, are areas you want to focus on, and over time you want to shift this to the left side. For example, if supporting an argument was not your forte, it was a weakness for you in one test, you want to shift this to the left side, to the areas of strength side in your next test. So that's how you can analyze your score report and understand it. Let's talk about your course syllabus plan. Now, you received a Word document that has tables in which all the things you're supposed to do in every single week is listed. So I'm going to show how you can follow this on your online student portal in a minute. But just to show you an example of that, for example, this is week 1. You can see the lesson summary is mentioned in the table. SAT test taking strategies, these are the objectives of the week. On the math module, you have this as your big goal. And for the English module, you have these as your big goal. The breakdown is, of course, mentioned here. So, Lesson 1, Math 1. All these steps from 1 to 10 are part of your week 1. Now, can you take them all in one go? Sure. Can you take a few at a time? Sure. So this is a self-paced program. Feel free to pace yourself the way you wish, the way that is convenient for you. But make sure that you meet your weekly tasks. For the English lesson, again, you have several steps to complete for that week 1 of your syllabus or study plan. I'm going to explain this live on your OSC more in a bit after I explain to you how you can use the online student portal. These slides will come again in that. So now let's talk about your online student portal, which contains everything that all the materials that you received from the Princeton Review. So to access your account, type in princetonreview.com. To access your online student portal, open your internet browser and type in princetonreview.com. Here, click sign in. Put in your username and password and click remember me so that next time you don't have to do this. Here, your SAT Ultimate 18 live online classroom course. Launch this. Great, so this is your online tool. And I'm going to walk you over these tabs. Feel free to browse it on your own at any time, explore it, discover new things. But I'm going to give you a brief. The first tab, which is your study tab, is sort of like your home page. And on this page, what you can see is the score you got in your test, in your latest test, and the target score if you set any. And I'm going to show you how you can do. And if you have any target schools, it will appear somewhere here at the bottom of the page, daily tasks if you set any. So let's set you some goal. You click on update goal. Let's say I want to get a 650 on the math section, and I want to get a 600 on the verbal section. That goes to a total of 1250. My starting preparation date, well, why not as soon as possible? So April 3rd, and the last day of my preparation is June 6th. So that is set. Here, target schools. If you have any school on your mind, feel free to add it here. So you click on that. You can search the school name here and find it. I'm just going to add Harvard because why not? Who doesn't want to get into Harvard? So save school. Click on that. Okay, maybe X that one and save school. Now again, if you go back to your account, click on home page, and then launch your SAT Ultimate 18. You will see your target score is written here. So every time you log into your account, this will be a good reminder for you. This is where you currently are, and this is where you're headed. And your test date, I set it for June 6th. Your school is added here. You get some basic information. The average score for the SAT Harvard requires is 1520. So perhaps you have to work harder if you're targeting that. And this is a GPA requirement. This graph will show the progress over time. So if you take a few tests, you can see how you're progressing. So that's pretty much it on the study tab. On the tests tab, which you should be familiar because you already have taken a practice test, you have access to a bunch of practice tests, but the ones that we recommended for you are all the way down here. You've taken the free test already, so check in your syllabus and see what is the next test listed. Let's say it is test 1, so you here, click online and do the test just the same way you did your free test. So that's pretty much it about the tests tab. Reports tab contains your school reports. Now, for free test, if you click on view score, you should be able to view here the total score, the verbal. The green ones are the target score, the ones that I got, which is a blank test, basically 200, 200. So this is the score breakdowns: SAT verbal, SAT math, and SAT essay if you have submitted an essay as well. So as you can see, this is just a trial. I submitted a blank test. So for you, you should see the green and red colors if you got any mistakes. And if you want to figure out what the correct and or why the correct answer is A, you can simply click on that. You will be taken to the question, and an explanation is here. Click on it and you will have explanation to the question. And the concept is listed here as well. So if you want to know where to study to get questions of this sort correct, that's where you get the concept, and then you can review the concept as well. On to your coursework. So this is where all the tracks listed in your study plan in the Word document are stored. So just make sure you view by subject and not by syllabus. So you click on that. There you go. You have the strategies, you have math, art of algebra, math problem solving. All the tracks are here. If you scroll down, you will see writing on language and reading. So here I want to take an example and show you how can you follow your study plan. For that, I'm going to share your study plan, and then I'll come back to this page. In this lesson 1, math 1, you have in your first step strategies. What does that mean? So strategies, and then in the category global test strategies, and the track you're supposed to follow. So in your syllabus, math 1, step 1 is to go to strategies, global strategies, and find the learn track, watch the video lesson. I'm going to show this to you on your online student portal now. So let's switch to online student portal. Okay, so remember it was step 1 was the strategies. Here we have strategies. SAT Unlocked Global Test Strategies. You click on that and the learn icon appears. So you click on that, click on this, then you have the video. So you click next. Make sure you read through this thoroughly, and here you have the video. I'm not gonna play this entirely, I just want to keep it short. So that's how you can follow all the lesson tracks. If it's, let's say, Heart of Algebra, tackling linear equations, click on this. If it's refresh, click on this. Learn, click on this. Practice, click on that, and then follow through. I'm sure you can figure that out. The next tab is schedule. If there is review sessions, you should be able to view that here under the schedule tab. SAT Advantage, I'm going to skip this. There isn't much to tell you on this tab. The resources tab has some videos that you might find useful. I highly recommend you to watch these 3 videos. This is the onboarding video, and this is a guide on the online student portal. In case what I explained to you was not clear, you can click on this one and watch another video on the online student portal. And in case you want to learn more about your school report, you can click on this and you will have a video of that as well, and some documents, and there isn't much here. So remember, tests tab, reports tab, coursework, and study. These are the most important ones for you, and check your schedule once in a while to see if there is any review sessions for you. So that is it on your online student portal. I'm going to switch back to the slides. What do I have in the slides? Let's see. So before I finish, let me remind you of your attendance policy once more. To have access to the amazing portal I just explained to you, you have to complete 3 hours of your workload in every single week. So make sure you do that, and more than that, right? That's the bare minimum. And remember, if you have any questions, you have Alain team and you have Abu Dhabi team. We are at your disposal. Feel free to reach us via the email addresses that are listed, or you can give us a call. We will be available at the hours listed here. Thank you very much for listening to this orientation class, and we wish you a great prep journey with us.